surprise.
It's gonna be fun. And 3, 2, 1, bam! Holy cow! I was thinking today, the reason why the 171-pound class is so insane is because imagine if you took, like, you know how they're always talking about the pound for pound best fighters in the world?
Yeah, yeah.
But think about, like, if they took you and made you 250 pounds. It
Be
would be,
explosive, hey.
yeah, it would be terrifying. It would be terrifying. Whereas you could take like when I think, I mean, they're great. There's great fighters, obviously, in all the weight classes. But when I think of taking someone like you and making you that big, as opposed to like taking someone like Mighty Mouse, you know, like from down there,
Yeah,
who's a great
right.
fighter. I mean, you're crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, we are starting a few minutes early. This
Yeah.
is Jack Della. Whew, don't mess this up,
You
Sebi.
nervous?
Don't mess this up. Maddalena.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Thank you. Jack
That was
Della
beautiful.
Maddalena.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Jack Della Maddalena.
Do it for me one more time.
Jack Della Maddalena.
Jack Della
But you had it.
Maddalena. Hey,
Yeah.
where does
No,
which go
you
ahead.
said that perfect. That was
Where
good.
does your last name start? Oh, with the Della?
Basically my granddad
Uh-huh.
was born in northern Italy, north of Italy, and he came to Australia at the age of 18. So it's a northern Italy Italian name.
I mean, but do you have a middle name, or is Della your middle name?
My first name's actually, it's not Jack. My first name's Giacomo.
Oh,
So my name's Maddalena, but
wow.
I don't look like Giacomo della Maddalena.
And
But this is me.
yeah, and it is you. I can't believe it. This story you guys are about to hear is for some people like me who are just fair weather MMA fans who are just kind of stuck in the UFC scene because we only have 5 hours a week to dedicate to fighting. Um,
Oh, that's a
uh,
lot of hours a
I
week.
know
That's
it
pretty
is,
cool.
but with 5 hours a week, you can still only be smart enough to watch the
Yes.
UFC. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Of course.
You got to watch all the gossip shows, and then you got to watch the fights on Saturday, and then you got to watch, like, if you want to get into the Contender Series
So
or
You're deep in the MMA world.
or
You
the
like
Ultimate
it.
Fighter.
The
Well, I'm not
UFC
deep in the
world.
MMA world. That's what I mean.
The
That's my
UFC
problem.
world.
I'm just deep in the UFC world. I'm not even
Oh,
that
that's
deep.
cool.
Yeah, but I'm trying.
It sounds deep.
I thank you. I'm trying. If you like stories, this story about Jack Della Maddalena is a remarkable story, and now is the time to get on the bandwagon. I am not
Thank you.
joking.
Get on board.
Yes,
Head on the bandwagon.
this is not a fucking joke. This is the guy. This is a story um, that you really can't write. It's not even a believable story. How where we are in the story, wouldn't you say?
Wow.
It's crazy.
It's a cool story and everything seems to have lined up nicely and just the way I envisioned it. So it's cool to play it out, but this is definitely just the beginning of this story.
Yeah, it's nuts.
We're halfway through.
It's absolutely nuts. So I was basically, I think you were on the same card. Mo Miller was no, which I don't know
Mo
how I
Miller,
came.
Mo Miller did fight on my card.
He did okay. So that's the
Yeah.
thing. I was on Mo Miller's jock. So basically, I'm in the CrossFit space, and I'm trying to become the next great Joe Rogan, and I want to have the biggest
Oh yeah.
podcast in the world, and I'm so excited.
Beautiful.
Right. And so I'm trying to break into the UFC space because I'm a huge UFC fan. And when you do things that you love, it's little to no energy. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
who are these fighters who are up and coming that I can sucker to come onto my podcast? Right. So I'm like, okay, this Contender Series things, these guys must be hungry for attention and for practice to be interviewed. I'll start. And I got on the Mo Miller bandwagon. I've had him on the podcast 3 times. And through there, I'm learning about people like Jack.
Yeah, right.
So
It's funny
that's,
because I used to delve into a bit of CrossFit
uh-huh.
back in the day, and I actually remember you from some of the like media stuff in CrossFit. So it was funny to like see you pop up. I was like, wow, I remember Sevan. I loved CrossFit. I still do. I like watching it. Watch all like the documentaries and stuff. So it's cool.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I made my fortunes and cut my teeth and worked my ass off there for 15 years.
Yeah, well
What an
done.
insane experience.
What a crazy sport, hey?
Yeah,
Crazy sport.
yeah. Um, so uh, it's funny because before we got on, I'm like, should I tell people? Like, should I let people know what's so crazy about your story? But I don't think we should just start off with just like the big bang of like where you are. I think we should.
What's the crazy what story? What's the big story?
The story is your
How
professional,
we ended
your
the two
prof.
losses.
Yes,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
what you have done is
Thank you.
it's Michael Jordan esque, and
Wow.
and that's why people need to
Wow.
get on the bandwagon now. You don't want
Yeah.
to, however this story turns out, like the people who got on after your first two losses, now the cat's out of the fucking bag. The people who got on there, they must be tripping.
Yeah. They're
They
the
must
just
be.
that they're the close people, you know, they're the friends and family. They were on them still on board. So yeah, no, it's awesome. It's awesome where we've come. Full circle, which is incredible.
Yeah, my wife started dating me when I was a homeless man eating out of dumpsters, and now
Yeah,
we're
nice.
rich.
Yeah, beautiful.
How crazy is that?
That
25
is
years later.
yeah, no, yeah, 100%. That's
She
someone you
believed
want
in
to
me.
yeah, that's just
Uh,
someone you want to be around for your whole life, you know.
what was your record in your amateur career?
I had only two amateur fights, two
Okay.
wins.
Okay. So I'm
So
gonna, before we start and talk about where Jack was born and how old he is and how much he weighs and how he got into this punching people in the face business, I'll tell you this: Jack lost his first two professional fights, and I don't know what made him say this, but we will get to the bottom of it in this show. He and his coach decided that after he lost his first two fights, that he would win his next 10 fights. And no shit, he did it. This man you
did
are
it.
looking at, his record is 10-2.
Yep,
It is,
10-2.
and he is dangerous. He is extremely dangerous.
Sometimes,
Say that again.
sometimes I'm dangerous. I'm not always dangerous.
Cool. When are you not dangerous?
When I'm not locked in that cage,
You are. You're a good dude outside the cage.
I'm a good person outside the cage. I think
Good temperament.
good temperament. Yeah, I believe so.
How
Pretty
old are you?
relaxed. I'm 25 years old.
And who's and where are you right now, Jack?
I'm in hotel quarantine in Sydney, Australia. Just me and my coach Ben Vickers. We are in a hotel room for 2 weeks, 14 days. Day 6 just ticked off, so we're getting there.
And why? Tell me what's going on. First of all, I didn't know you were allowed to be in with someone else. You're so because he was in the United States with you and you flew back together, you guys can quarantine together?
Yeah, well, I think they said they allow family members in together. They said you if you're not family, you definitely can't be in together. But we just got into Sydney. We just told them we are gonna do it in the same room, and they didn't bat an eyelid. They said, "Yeah, fine, whatever." They just chucked us in, and so here we are. It's cool to have some human interaction in here.
It's risky. How long has this guy been your coach?
He since the beginning for about I joined his gym, Scrappy MMA, when I was probably 15, so 10 years ago almost.
And tell me his name again.
Benjamin Vickers, Ben Vickers, the man. Scrappy MMA is the gym.
Was he a pro fighter?
He was a pro fighter, professional MMA fighter, and had a extensive boxing career in the army in London.
In the Australian Army or in the
No,
British
in
Army?
the British Army.
So he's a Brit. He's not even a Australian like you.
He's a Brit. He likes to pretend he's an Australian, but he's absolutely a Brit.
And like someone like me, if I heard him talk, I wouldn't know the difference. But all the Australians know, like they can tell the difference.
Yeah, there's definitely a British accent going
Okay,
on there. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe you wouldn't know the difference.
not me.
A
Not
lot of
me.
Americans reckon Australians and Brits sound the same.
I barely know the difference between men and women.
Well, there is no difference these days, is there?
No, not no.
No, there is, of course. Just
Of course there is.
yes. I don't know what's the right answer.
Let's go back to your grandfather. So your grandfather was full-blooded Italian.
Full-blooded Italian, yeah. Came over on a boat to
And,
Australia.
and do you know why he came?
I think just the opportunity, you know. I think just he heard that. I don't know the exact story, but I think it would have gone something like he heard there was a boat going to Australia, and he thought Australia sounds cool, so he jumped on. I think. But Carlo is the man. Rest in peace.
Oh,
But yeah,
he
he
passed.
had away. Yeah,
And when did he pass?
he passed about 2 years ago. 2 3 years. Yeah, 2 years ago. Sad day, but he was a good man. Had a good life, and he set up our family in Australia. So couldn't be prouder.
And he met your grandmother, and is she an Australian woman?
Yep, she's an Australian woman. They met in Darwin, which is basically the tip on the north of Australia.
And Australians are basically like real Australians are basically Brits, runaway Brits.
Basically, yeah, criminal Brits.
Okay. And is that really true? We always joke around about that, but that the Brits took their prisoners over there, and that's what Australians are.
Yeah,
Is that?
basically that's it. The Brits took their. That's how they started off. Took the prisoners over there, and then we made our own little place.
Wow. Okay. And then your native people are the Aboriginal people.
Aboriginal people, yeah,
They were chilling on the island when the prisoners came over.
yeah, they were chilling.
And then so your granddad and your grandmom had that's on your dad's side, you said?
Yeah, that's my dad's side, and my mum's side, basically Australians, with I think some Scottish background. So I think at some sent over.
Are your mom and dad still together?
Unfortunately, they're not. We had a small, yeah. This about the start of this year, they had a little breakup, but all was well though. Everything's okay.
I'm glad.
I guess times change, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy. Do you know, it's kind of amazing how many people are breaking up during this insanity, isn't it?
Yeah. It's been It's I didn't even think about that, but yeah, I could imagine the numbers on that sort of thing would be extremely high, which is sad, but
Uh,
it's a crazy world at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I had two friends get in touch with me this week. Both basically, one guy said, "Hey, I told my wife yesterday I can't believe we're still together." Like, and then another one of my friends said, "Hey, me and my wife are just together." Oh, and a third one too. And another one of my friends said, "Hey, me and my wife are living together, but we're not together. We're just staying together to raise the kid." And then another one of my friends is in the middle of breakup. Are you afraid that you and Benjamin, like being trapped in that room for 2 weeks together, could have a breakup? Yeah,
It's possible, but we're doing all right, you know. We're doing all right, but who knows? We've still got 7 days. Someone might die.
How old? How?
We're doing fine, you know. Ben is he's 16 years older than me, so what is that? 40, 41, 42.
Fuck. Old as dirt. Does he have gray hair?
Yeah. He's definitely got a bit of silver in there.
He's a good dude. He's a good dude. Okay,
He's a legend.
So your parents meet. Do you know where your parents meet? Do you know that story? How your parents met?
I've definitely been told it before. I can't remember.
You got punched in the face, and that story left.
Too many times. Yeah.
Okay, so you
knocked out my ears.
And you have siblings.
Yeah, I have one older brother, Josh.
And he's a fighter.
He's a fighter through and through.
And what's his discipline? Is he MMA also?
Yeah, he's MMA. We sort of started same sort of time, doing a lot of boxing. We used to like watching wrestling, so we were always wrestling and fighting with each other. So yeah, we just joined a gym at the same sort of time. We were each other's main training partners for a long time, you know. Practiced at home when we got home from training. Both big rugby players, or not big, but we were rugby union.
Is that everyone? Does everyone there play rugby?
No, not necessarily. The main sports in Australia definitely Australian rules football. AF. That's like the you would have seen that maybe the one where it's AFL basically. It's a big oval and you kick it, you run around. There's big hits. It's a impressive game to watch. Super athletic guys,
That's
hard
it.
game.
I've never even heard of that, believe it or not. I always just, when I think of Australia, I think of rugby and cricket.
Yeah, check out Australia when you get off here. Have a look at Australian rules football
Okay.
highlights or something.
Is it the same
It's an
football that they
incredible
use?
game.
Is it the same football they use in the United States?
It's not exactly the same. Similar looking ball.
Do they wear pads?
No pads. They wear short shorts and singlets.
Oh, nice. Wow. Wow.
And singlets, I mean, like cut off. I don't know if like cut off sleeves and short shorts. It's as Australian as a game as you'll see. And then pretty much the people that don't play that probably play soccer.
Are the guys who make the most money the guys who play this Australian football?
Yeah, it's a big game in Australia. Like the games are massive, so the guys in that make good money. Yeah, it's a tough game. Similar to not obviously not the NFL, but in Australia, it's a very similar sort of thing.
Do the guys go back and forth between the two, between rugby and this IFL?
Nah, no, not really. Nah. Most people in Australia play AFL and would sport, but for some reason, I got into rugby. AFL, Australian. That's the Australian Football League. So it's Australian rules football is the game.
So you're in school, you're into this Australian football, you're into just basically the typical.
No, rugby.
Sorry. You're into rugby.
No, you're good.
You're into rugby, and then somewhere you and your brother start turning. And how many years older is he than you? 4?
He's 2 years.
2 years. Oh shit, that's close.
It's close, yeah. So we had a good competitive growing upbringing. Always competing with each other.
And when you said you watch wrestling, cool. What do you mean you watch wrestling? Like WWE like shit? Or
WWE. I was fully involved in WWE as a young man. Invested in the game.
So jumping off the couch, trying to pile drive each other, all that 100%.
Shit. 100%. Yeah, suplexes onto the bed, jumping off shit onto the bed, the whole lot.
And someone always cried?
Not necessarily cry, but most of the time it ended up into a fist fight, which is daily. So a lot of fist fights growing up.
So because I had an older sister who was 3 years older than me, yeah. and my parents were divorced, but my mom was always at work. My dad was always at work too. So my sister and I, we'd come home from school, and it always started off, "Hey, you want to wrestle?" "Oh yeah, let's wrestle." Yeah. And then it was always me getting just the shit beat out of me and crying. Yeah. But I would war.
Yeah.
But and did you lose a lot?
Yeah, that's similar to me. Yeah, I lost a lot, definitely. There's not much way. There's with your big brother.
Yeah,
but I think there was definitely times in there. He would probably say otherwise that I reckon I may have got the edge.
Were there rules? Did you punch each other in the face?
There was sort of levels to the fight, but there was definitely fights where we were definitely punching each other in the face, but not all of them ended up full punching.
Yeah.
But there was definitely a few that ended up where they just crossed that level and it turned into fist fights.
Yeah, we didn't really punch each other. I mean, we would go at it. We didn't pull hair. We didn't punch each other in the face. But I think finally what ended it was I think like in the 8th grade I finally won. I think I did decide, hey, I'm tired of losing. I punched her in the face, and but my record was like 1 in like 700. Because as soon as I won, fighting was over. It was done.
Yeah,
it was like, all right, sure. You can't keep beating. Now you can't beat up your sister. Okay. Yeah. So and then when does it turn into like something formal, like formal training of wrestling and martial arts?
I think at a young age, so I was fully involved in wrestling, and then I can't remember the exact time, but I saw like an MMA video, and at that point, it was a big like click realization in my head that hang on, WWE isn't wrestling. I had my suspicions early on that it wasn't real, but like didn't have evidence to prove that it wasn't real, if that makes
Right.
sense. And then
Yeah. I
I
was
saw
that
the
kid too.
I saw I saw the
And who
MMA video,
cares?
and that was
It was
no,
like,
it
hey,
happened
that's
on
not real. Hey, what do you mean that's not real? I just saw that guy jump in the air and do a flip and land on that other guy. That's real
yeah,
enough for me.
that's real, exactly.
Yeah.
But then I saw this one MMA video, and I go, oh no, like maybe it isn't real. And then from that point, I still liked wrestling, but I was pretty much watching a lot more MMA, and those wrestling matches that we were having sort of started turning into more like MMA matches, just sort of mucking around. We obviously weren't trying to hurt each other, but just practicing different stuff.
And would you guys literally like you had no formal training, but you're like, okay, I watched this video and this is an arm bar, and so you would you would start arm barring each
Yeah,
other?
pretty much. Like pretty much that was it. Like we were trying to figure out how they did it. We definitely weren't doing it right, but we sort of had the basic idea of like how you needed to do it. So it was good. Then like yeah, basically just practicing in that regard, and then looked around for like a proper gym. Well, actually, we joined a boxing gym first because we couldn't find too many MMA gyms around. So we joined a boxing gym, just mucking around, learning how to throw some punches properly, doing that just to stay fit in the rugby season.
How old were
And then
you?
when we found it, at that stage, I was probably about 14, 15. So about, yeah, probably spent 2 years in the gym, probably about 14, maybe a year doing some boxing stuff, and then found a MMA gym nearby, and then got the sign up, and then have been there ever since.
So what do? You just say to your you say to your mom, you're 14 and your brother's 16, and you're like, hey mom, we want to just start doing some boxing. She's like, okay. And you look it up on the internet, and then she just drives you over there, and you starts driving you over there Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 3 p.m. after school, and that's it.
But it was more at the time. It was my dad got me into boxing. He thought it's a good idea for rugby. So he put us into this boxing gym. Said it will get you fitter for rugby. Basically, learn a new skill. And then yeah, at that point we found the MMA gym, and I sort of as you said, like I spoke to mum and dad. I was like, I'm pretty keen to join this gym, and they knew straight away. They said, Jim, you're going to want to do competitions in that sport. And they weren't into that, obviously. They thought that was just crazy, but
Yeah.
obviously stuck at it, and they just said, all right, go do it, see if you like it. And yeah, at that point, basically, I think I was about 15. So at that time, my brother got his license. So there was probably about 6 months there where what mum was dropping us every day, and then Josh got his license, and then we were just every single day we'd drive to the gym after school and practice how to fight.
Were you disciplined already at that age?
Um, Not really. I definitely was a bit of a energetic in a way, like energetic. I didn't like school. I was okay at school. I was respectful to everyone, but I don't know, I was a bit bored at school. I like to do things that were a bit thrilling, and which sometimes led to a bit of trouble, but I was reasonably disciplined. I was disciplined enough to just stay in the gym and work pretty hard. So but martial arts definitely, I think, definitely made me a calmer, better person, to be honest.
From 15 to 24, that's 9 years, or 14 to, let's say 14 to 24, 10 years. Have you ever taken any time off? Like more than a
No,
week,
no,
2 weeks?
no. Yeah, I have. I had a couple of holidays, like, but I normally do train when I'm away. So I haven't, from activity, apart from a couple of injuries here and there, I haven't really taken a
You
couple of
never
injury
like
setbacks.
so you never got into like smoking weed and tons of girls, and like you never had that phase. You never were like just out drinking every single day or doing
Uh,
drugs or
so when I was about maybe 19, I sort of started drinking, I reckon, at probably a younger age, below the legal limit, as most kids probably do. Like, got
of
into
course.
having parties and stuff at 16. So,
Right.
but I sort of just got it out my system kind of young, By the time I was to go out and party legally, I was sort of, it wasn't my thing. I was pretty invested in the sport of martial arts, and I'd rather just be fresh and feeling good for training. So yeah, that it was never a big phase of my life, the whole party drinking thing.
Was
Definitely
it
had
like? Go ahead.
situations with friends, but yeah, I sort of got it out of my system at a young age.
When I was 30, I'm 49 now. Up until I was 34, I was smoking cigarettes, and then I found CrossFit.
Oh yeah,
And up until then, like, before then, I would go to the gym, and it was basically, just like lat pull down machine and bench press and just, some pull ups, and just hang out in there
yeah,
an hour and look at girls, and then go out to my car and smoke a cigarette and eat a hamburger. You know what I mean? But then I got into CrossFit, and they just didn't work together. But it sounds like you had that experience earlier. You're like, I could drink,
yeah,
but no one wants to go to the gym hungover and get punched in the face.
yeah. Exactly. It was funny when I was about 17. I joined a CrossFit gym, and I probably spent 2 years there, just going every single morning. So I love CrossFit. I almost got drawn into the cult, but I was pretty much like I love CrossFit. I still like CrossFit. I watch the CrossFit games and whatnot. So CrossFit was to be honest, CrossFit had definitely helped me with my fitness and stuff, building my body to what it is now. So I actually pay a lot of respect to CrossFit.
How is your engine?
It's all right. I was pretty good at CrossFit. I actually joined a competition, came third in with our gym, which is cool. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a different like CrossFit and MMA. They're different. Like the engine, obviously the energy type is different, but I feel like I've got a decent engine.
Have you ever been
But
in a
you can,
fight? Have you ever been in a fight in the ring and you got gassed and there's still more time in the fight?
yeah, my first professional fight, I was pretty gassed. I hit that third round and I was just felt empty. I was just done. I got the loss, got beaten up pretty nicely.
That is it,
It was a
go ahead.
incredible learning curve, basically.
It seems like the worst thing that could happen to you in all of sports, to be in a ring in the middle of a fight and to run out of energy. Like,
Yeah,
but like normally you see it like with the big guys, right? Like like you see like Derek Lewis fighting some guy, and they both ran out of gas, and you're like, oh shit.
yeah.
It's like
That
two
is,
trains coming at each other really slow. You don't know what's gonna happen.
yeah, exactly.
It
That
looks
is
so
definitely
scary.
it's a that it would is a scary place to be in the cage when you are empty. It's a That is definitely why I train so hard to not be in that position. It's an easy motivator because that is somewhere you don't want to be.
And there's nowhere to hide. It's not like other sports where like this Australian football or the NFL, like you can hide a little bit.
There's some way if you need to in other sports, but
And there's
yeah,
10
not
other
in this
guys or
sport.
12 other guys or there's just other shit going on.
Yeah, there's a way out, but in MMA, it's sort of there's not much you can do. You've just got to, if you get tired, you just have to take the beating that awaits you.
And so that just happens to you once and never again. You're like, fuck, like that really left a mark on you.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely just gave me that. I realized how much harder I needed to push in training to like exceed that point of exertion. So it was easy motivation just to this point, and yeah, knowing that it had to work that gas tank.
How old
So
were
that
you
was the
when you had your
beautiful thing
first
about the loss.
How old were you when you had your first fight?
My first for the professional fight.
Yeah.
Uh, professional fight. I think I was 18 or 19.
Crazy. And
Towards it.
is that the guy that you ended up avenging when I think you were 7-2 and you fought him again. Is that
Yeah, he was actually my second, not my obviously not my fight that I just had. He was the fight before that.
okay?
It
So
was my
so you were
so
8-2 and you met him again.
yeah, so it came full circle, which was nice.
And I didn't see the fight you lost, but I saw that fight last night. And
Oh yeah,
that guy looks like, even when you fought him when you were 8-2, he looks like a man and you look like a boy. and like in
Yeah.
that fight, and I'm like scared for you. I'm like, I mean, I already knew your record. I already knew your record that you won the fight because I know your record's 10-2. But I'm like, holy shit, he fought this guy before, and he's gonna fight him again. And you were very confident in the pre-fight interview, but like I was scared for you, even though I knew you were gonna win him. That he looked huge, and he looked
He's
older
a
than. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
he's a big. Oh, he's an older guy. He's big, strong, athletic, fit guy who was game, and he definitely wanted to win. So it's always a good, solid test to get in there.
So you're 0-0 as a pro. You fight this guy. You're 0-1. You lose, and then you fight him again when you're 8-2.
Yeah,
Wow, that's
came full
crazy.
circle.
And did you want that fight again, or were you like, were you like, okay,
Think,
I need to get that back?
yeah, for me, he was from Perth, so he lives in Perth, which is where I'm from, and I was doing like I ever since I lost that fight, I wanted to get that fight back. And it was just we were just waiting. Like we tried to get it a couple of times, and things just fell through. So it was sort of just eating at me, knowing that there was someone that lived in my city that could beat me, and I'm trying to say that I'm the best. Well, I'm not trying to say, but I'm trying to prove that I'm the best. Well, and just to know that there's some guy that lives probably within a 50-kilometer radius of my house that has beaten me was really it hurt me every single day. So to get that back was it was just awesome. I was so happy to get that fight back.
And what was his name? Oh, that's right. That's right. I even have his name written
Howard
down
and
here.
Bates
Yeah. And you beat him in 72 seconds.
got the win, yeah, nice and
Yeah.
early, which was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that was crazy. And and then after you won, you jumped up on the fence of the ring and you put your hand up by like this. And
Yeah, I don't know.
is this like UFC? Call me, I'm ready for the
Yeah, I
call.
think that's what I was thinking. Like, call me up. It's time.
It's time.
It was the first thing that sort of came to my head.
And so is that your biggest victory against Alden Bates? Is that
Uh,
bigger than your contender fight?
I think like the last victory is always your biggest victory. So my last victory is definitely the biggest one. It was the latest goal challenge that I had in my head. So yeah, I'm still just soaking that up, and yeah, at the moment that's the biggest victory. And then the next fight will so it's the same deal. Your last fight's the biggest victory, and your next fight's the biggest fight. So in a good spot.
I was doing this I think I'm still doing it. I do this podcast with Matt Fraser. He's the 5 times CrossFit Games champion. And I do a
Yeah, oh
podcast with
man, I'm a fan of Matt. He's
Okay,
the man.
cool. And it's myself and Josh Bridges. Are you familiar with him also?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Josh Bridges is also the man.
Okay, so we do this
Legend.
podcast and we've done 22 episodes, and through there I've really I've gotten to hear Matt speak on a lot. And one of the stories he shared was that when he took second place at the CrossFit Games, he was like basically he hated it, right? And then as a little bit of
Yeah,
time went on, I don't know how much time, his second place medal, instead of being his most hated medal, it became his favorite medal because it reminded him that he never wanted to be.
that's incredible. Hey, that's a pretty cool story, and it just shows the sort of guy he is, doesn't it? That's a It
So
makes a lot of sense. Hey,
for sure. So if in your first light, if in your first fight you got winded, and that's the lesson there. What happened in the second fight?
no, definitely not excuses. I think that first fight, Alden was definitely the better fighter. So I just took small things away from it. Definitely work on the gas tank. He was definitely the better fighter at the time. The next fight, I don't even know. The same, I think Darcy Vendy is who I lost to, and same thing. He was just the better fighter, more experienced, and I learned some things from that. Just I don't think my head was in the game. I didn't have that. Probably didn't have that like killer instinct in me at that stage. So I think that's probably why I lost that next fight. And
And
of
what
course, that Darcy, he's the better fighter on the day, no question.
what weight class were you fighting then?
My initial fight was meant to be at 170, which is 77 kilos. So that's the welterweight. But Alden couldn't make the weight early on in the fight camp, so we changed it to 80 kilos, which is about 180. And then my next second fight was 185, which
Oh,
is also, yeah, it's just not the weight class I was at. Like in that fight, I was definitely bloated. I was a bit chunky, you would say. I wasn't in fighting fit, so it's just probably not the right weight class for me, to be honest.
is it rare that a guy would start his career at 171 and 12 fights in still be at 171? Rare might not be the right word, but it seems like most guys at 18 years old, like 171 seems big for an 18-year-old fighter, right? Like you would picture them starting at 155 and then somewhere they just can't make the weight anymore and they go up to 171 or you know.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm not sure. I was a small. I think when I first had my fight at 170, I was definitely a small welterweight. I wasn't like fully grown. I was still growing as like a man. I feel like I'm still growing now. And then second fight being at 185, yeah, it didn't really make sense. I was definitely not that, but I signed up for it, so there's no excuse there. But I think 170 it's a pretty easy weight for me to make. I think that's probably where I'll be for this foreseeable future.
You were pretty
Maybe
shredded.
one day. Yeah, yeah, I get pretty lean at 170. I try and get as lean as possible so I don't have to do any crazy weight cut at the before the weigh-in or anything. So I just get as lean as possible and then just cruise cruise through the weigh-in.
How tall are you?
About 5'11", just sort of shy of 6 foot. I'd love to say I'm
Wow.
6 foot, but it'd be a lie.
So 5'11", 170 pounds. And what's the heaviest you get?
Heaviest nowadays, I probably get to shy of maybe 88 kilos would be heavy for me, which is 190 maybe, 190 and 195
And is that you being
probably.
sloppy, or is that do you try to actually get big sometimes just to feel what it's like and then cut
So
down?
that's just sort of having zero like just eating whatever I want, still training, but just eating, filling my body fully, and probably being a bit of a pig with the amount I eat. As soon as I cut out being a pig with how much I eat, tend to drop quite a bit. Is just that extra push.
What about your upbringing? Did your parents what did you learn from them or what did they instill in you that made it so that you have this discipline, that you're able to do this, that
I,
you're 10 years in and that you just keep getting better?
I think my mum definitely just instilled in me that you could do whatever you want to do. I think that is something that mum really drilled into me. She didn't want me to follow any rules as such of what I had to do with my life. I had basically a clean sheet of paper and I could do whatever I want. Was just basically a really hard worker. He leaves the house for work. He started his own business at a young age, and he basically to this day he leaves the house every morning at 3:30. Goes so he runs every morning and then gets to work and doesn't get home until. So he's just instilled that if you want to get what you want to get, you've also got to put the solid work in. So I think both those things that they gave me together made for basically taught me a lot. The idea that you to do whatever you want, you have to put serious hours in, and
And
that's
and
pretty much how I feel that what I'm trying to do at this stage.
do you have a day job?
I was working with the old man up until the start of this year, and then sort of just I saved a bit of money, working hard, training, and then just realized that if I want to give this thing a crack, I've got to get not just the training right, I've got to get the other side of things right, like the recovery, the sleep, the good nutrition. So yeah, I quit the day job and it just sort of going to give this a crack for a bit. And it's at this stage, it's working out. So exciting times.
How about things like You're 22 years old, and you
So
mentioned your grandfather passed away. How about things like that? Are those things a distraction? Are they a motivation? How do you
you hear
process
dinging? That was my phone. Apologies.
what happened?
No, my phone was just dinging. I don't know if that's
Oh,
annoying.
it's your girlfriend. No, 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 no. This is my show. You can ding away. You can ding away. It is. You're not married, right? That's your girlfriend,
Nah, fiance.
fiance.
Like to be married, but not married yet.
Okay, so those things. So you have a grandfather passing away. Your mom and dad have a relationship that you hear about. You have your own relationship. It seems like how do you have to be really selfish and kind of keep those things at bay?
No,
How does someone be a fiance to a professional athlete? It seems
crazy. I'm super lucky with my fiance Michelle. So she is extremely supportive, and she fully believes in me that I will get to where I want to go and reach my goals. So she is awesome, and she doesn't mind fighting. She does. She's not too. She obviously gets nervous, but she appreciates a good. She appreciates fighting for what it is. So I'm lucky in that regard, and she's 100% on board the train to get to the top. So I'm happy with that.
how about
But I've
this though? You're 24 years old, and I remember what it's like to be 24, kinda. And um, your girlfriend's PMSing, and she thinks she overheard another girl calling you, and we didn't have DMs when I was 24, and she had a dream that some girl's talking to you in your DMs, and like you can't be dealing with that shit, right? Because you have to be like focused on your training
yeah
and it's like you don't want to be an asshole. You're in a relationship with someone, right? You don't want to be like, hey, shut the fuck up, you're crazy. But like how do you I just don't know how you do that. Like when I was talking to Mo Miller, like he's got nothing in his life, right? And I'm like, okay.
yeah
And like how do you like you can't even I mean, as guys, I feel like we're mostly accused of our women of not being sensitive or being there to address their needs. And it's
yeah.
probably true, right? But like you have like your train is going from point A to point B, and I'm guessing that you can't
She
like how do you do it? She or
No,
you
I
don't know
actually
how she
reckon
does it.
I don't know how I do it. I think I've just honestly I reckon I've hit the jackpot. She is not that type of person. Fully trusts that I am like a good person. She knows that I am just super lucky. She's not a jealous person at all. She's never gonna question what I'm doing. She is 100% supportive of me, and we have a pretty special. We didn't have a special relationship. I definitely wouldn't have. I like asked her to marry me, so I'm lucky in that regard.
It's a
So
great point.
I chucked a ring on it pretty quick because I feel like I've got I'm a lucky man.
Um,
So that is no issue.
l-
Sort of thing is no problem in my life, which is good.
okay, I'm not going to give up. Let me give you some other things. These are like real
Yeah,
world things
yeah,
that other 24
yeah.
year olds deal with. You ready for this?
I
Her sister's getting married, and she wants you to go to the wedding, but it's a week before a big fight. She understands you can't go.
She 100%
Awesome.
understands. Sorry, I can't be there. So that's what I'm dealing with. So I'm a lucky man.
Yeah. Because if you want to be on the winner train, and I've talked about this with a lot of winners, your birthday doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like
100%. I
like
have my
no one's
birthday.
birthday matters if you're a UFC
No,
fighter. Like you just or
my
get the fuck
birthday
out
doesn't
of the
matter
off
this
the cart,
year.
right? Say that again. Sorry, Jack. Go ahead.
I had my birthday basically 3 days before my fight, and yeah, it wasn't much of a birthday. It was just another day. So yeah, yeah, spot on there. Like birthdays don't matter these days. You've just
Even
got to.
even when I was working at CrossFit and I was an executive there, it was a I worked 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. And if my kid's birthday fell on an important day of a meeting, I moved my kid's birthday. I would have my kid's birthday on another day because I just knew like,
Yeah,
hey, my work is more important because it's actually what's going to put food on the table. And like the birthday is just a day, and like he doesn't know he's 2 years old and like whatever. But
yeah.
yeah,
No, I can appreciate that. Like It is just a day, isn't it? You can celebrate a couple of days later. You can celebrate a month later. It's just another day. So
And the only person it should really
that's
matter
the
to is the
birthday.
woman who had to squat you out. Like, fuck my birthday for me. That's I should be celebrating my mom. She's the one who had to birth me, right?
Yeah, that's
Like
very true.
like call her up and be like, "Thank you, mom."
Yeah, we didn't have to do much, did we, on the day we were born? We just showed
E-
up.
Easy day. Come out and get on that tit and start eating. What is how are your parents dealing with the fact that you're in a career that with a lot of violence, a lot of
With
hurt,
this
the
is
hurt
yeah, and
game?
they obviously it's a nerve-wracking thing, I would imagine, for a parent to watch their son go out and have to like throw bones at somebody else and get hit in the process. But they're super supportive. That they know the amount of work I put into it, so they are into it 100%.
And your
To which
brother?
mate, obviously, yeah, he's a good fighter, a mad fight fan, so he's fully supportive. So it's a shame that Josh couldn't come out this time for this fight, but he will definitely be coming out with all the fights to come.
Do you know when your next fight is?
We've got solid I can't say anything yet, but I think we've got some solid indication of when and who. So it's exciting times.
Can you give me any roughly a time, like a month? Are you even allowed to
It'll
talk
be,
about that?
yeah, it's gonna, yeah, basically it'll be next year, start of next year.
Is that are you good with that or is that too far away?
I'm happy with that. It seems to work out well. We'll get home soon. Enjoy getting to the Perth sun. It's fine for me. I'm happy. I'm happy as long as next year I can get 2, 3 fights in. I'll be a happy man. Three
So
fights would be awesome.
so listen, guys, listen, people, listen. It's Jack Della Maddalena. I'm gonna spell it for you. Jack, Jack, and then it's a new word, Della, new word Maddalena. Put that in your Google alerts. You seriously want to jump on this bandwagon. You want to look him up on Instagram.
You
I'm
do.
not saying this. I haven't said this about any of the 6 or 7 other UFC fighters I've had on, although I've loved them all. Um, you really want to watch this thing unfold. This is
Thank
going to
you,
be,
Sevan. That's
dude,
awesome.
Jack. It is really a
You
crazy
seem you
story.
seem very confident with this, and
With
I
what?
appreciate it. Just that you reckon we're going places.
Oh, dude,
You
it's
know it.
it's a bizarre story. It's like Michael
You're
Jordan-esque.
the
It's the
man.
kid, who didn't make the high school basketball team, and then all of a sudden is like,
Yeah.
"Fuck you, I'm going to the NBA." You're like, "What? Shut the fuck up," you know.
Legend. Hell
But
yeah.
you're a professional athlete. You made it. The dude you fought on the Contender Series, another scary dude. That guy was
Tough
fucking.
guy, yeah.
That guy was scary.
He was tough. His eyes were on me the whole time. He was 100% coming to win, and there wasn't much you could do about that except outpoint him.
What does that mean?
Well, I was trying extremely hard to knock him out, basically. I was trying as hard as I could to get him out of the fight. I tried to throw everything I could at him, and he basically wasn't going anywhere. He was in that fight until the ref, or until the bell went, basically. So awesome competitor, and yeah, I reckon I might probably see him down the track one day.
When I see my 6-year-old boy, and sorry to compare you to my 6-year-old boy, but you're talking to a guy who got picked after girls in high school. I have no skills in any sports. I'm fucking pathetic. But when my 6-year-old, he plays tennis and I see him hit a good shot, he watches it, and then the fucking 10-year-old kid hits one back and he's not in position and he loses. You
Uh,
know, when you punch a guy, is it and you get a good shot? Is it hard not to admire your work? Is it hard not to celebrate?
I know it was definitely when I started out. It was hard not to, but it's a skill that you have to land your shot, and then your mind has to switch from that shot to defense mode or your next shot. So you've got to literally be 3 moves in front. You're not thinking land this punch, see what happens. You have to think Basically defend, land the shot, defend, get out, that sort of thing. So you're thinking 3 moves in front. So by the time that combination has happened, your shot was a couple of moves ago. So you can't really look at it for too long, if that makes sense.
Yes, 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 yes. I mean, I can intellectualize it. And let's say you are thinking three moves ahead. How is not only are you thinking 3 moves ahead, but how often do you actually do those 3 moves? Are there usually just like to use the football term, are there just constant audibles? Are you just have to be super flexible the whole time too? Like, hey, I'm gonna punch and dip right. Nope, I'm not dipping right, and all of a sudden your body makes the judgment for you that to get at it, not dip right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like kind
Yeah,
of like you're
yeah, I
having an out
do.
of body experience. Like your body's like, no, we're not doing that. That's dangerous.
I It's a crazy mix of basically reactions. Obviously, a lot of what you do is just reactions from drilling certain movements over and over again, and then there's also that mix of you've got to make the right decision at the right time. So it's a whirlwind of like when you're in there. But I think when you do your best work is when it's simply just reactions, and you basically believe in yourself that you're going to make the right reactions, and you just leave it in your subconscious's hands, basically, in a way.
Another amazing. God, I hope I don't fuck this up. You have 2 losses, but of your 10 victories, 9 of them you finished the fight. You didn't leave it in the judge's hand.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the first fight I've ever left in the judge's hands.
And was that weird?
It was weird. It was definitely not the plan, but I was actually upset for the first 20 minutes after. Really love a finish. For me, it feels like you just put like a stamp on the fight, and you've done everything it could it takes to. You basically won in the most dominant way possible. So I was a bit upset, but then as it kicked in, I realized that for me, it was probably the best case scenario. Get 3 rounds in, which is
Mm,
perfect for experience levels, and then also not having the perfect fight, so there's a lot of stuff we can go back to the drawing board and just
mm.
work on. So to me, it's a win-win. The more time goes by, I'm actually very happy with how the fight played out.
Yeah. And just so you know, I wasn't saying that you shouldn't be, but I just know how you perfectionists are. I know that you guys will be really
Yeah,
hard on yourself. Yeah, it's incredible. So 10-2 with 9 finishes, and you won every round
yeah, won every round on the
from
judges'
from every
scorecards.
judge. Yeah, I mean it's pretty clean.
I
How,
think it was
how is
pretty.
your how is your
As the more I watch it back, I think it was definitely clean. I won every round.
how is your engine after the fight? Like as you were going into the final 10 seconds, did you feel good?
Yeah, the last I was actually feeling pretty good, to be honest. My lungs were definitely like blown up a bit. But I was fine. I was just that third round. I definitely slowed down a little bit, but I think that's just because I could tell he was slowing down. So I just was just trying to stay having a little bit higher pace than he was. Probably maybe, but yeah, no, I was happy. The gas tank is definitely something if that was the negative from the fight, it's to me that's an easy fix.
Um, Outside of actual performing the martial arts and whatever it is, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, boxing, what movements are there that that you think are the best for building your engine? Sprints, assault bike, burpees, like is there any like go to, like what have you been doing in your hotel room?
The hotel room we've just got a simple push bike, but I reckon those to me I went out
What's a push bike? Like the
there.
assault bike?
It's not an assault bike. It's literally just like a what would you call it? Like a ski. It's just like a bike,
Okay, a bike with no, your arms don't do
a
shit.
spin bike.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, just a basic spin bike, which has been cool. I've never really spent much time on it, so like a couple of Ks on it, which is cool. I definitely reckon the running, and I reckon those Echo road bikes are pretty impressive. I probably a year ago bought one of them, and it's a bit of like a torture machine. But I think if you want to if you want to get a hard workout in, that is probably the way to do it. And then wrestling, those two things are probably the hardest
Do you ever
things
mix
we
them?
get done in the gym.
Do you ever mix them? Get on
Yeah,
an
we
echo
do.
bike for a
Yeah,
minute and then
yeah,
wrestle echo bike. Like,
yeah. Macro bike and pads, that sort of thing, just to really like get your heart. Bike, obviously your lungs are burning, the legs are. You can't really move too well, and then it's a perfect. It feels exactly how you feel in a fight. So getting off that, then getting into wrestling, getting into pad rounds, it's pretty good at um basically emulating a fight.
when you look at, do you look at that whole division, that 171 division in the UFC?
Yeah, 100%. That is my division.
When
I love that.
I spoke to Mo a couple days ago, and basically he's so did you get a chance to speak with him at all?
I definitely met Mo, but I didn't get to talk to him for too long. I only got to saw him after the fight. But yeah, no, I didn't speak to him for too long. But he seemed like a nice guy.
So cool, so
Yeah,
mellow, never gets wound up, like answers the questions chill. But the second I'll be like, so those guys in the 135-pound division, like, oh, what do you think about the fight between TJ and so and so? He's like, I don't give a he just flips the script. He's
yeah,
basically like, I
right.
don't give a shit. And those guys don't even. They're all the same guy to me. They're just dudes I'm gonna beat up. I mean, it's
Huh.
crazy. It is.
That's a cool
Yeah,
mindset.
it's just like he doesn't even like. I brought up Sugar Shane. He's like, yeah, whatever. It's like he's nothing. I will
Right,
just
yeah, right. He was
eat
in there.
him.
Yeah,
And it's
that's
like
cool.
he's not even like talking shit. It's not even like part of his shtick, right? Um, eh, eh, but as soon as you bring those guys up, like you could be like, so what'd you have for dinner? And he's like, well, and he's all calm. But the second you bring those guys up, is it do you have that like, okay, I'm coming to this division, I can beat all these guys? Or are you like, okay, I'm like 5 or 6 fights away of getting enough experience to like to start thinking about that? Or is it already, do you already see it?
No, I see. I think I'm gonna get in there, and I reckon today I could I could put on a good, solid performance against everybody in the welterweight division. So I'm happy. I understand. Also, understand the process. You've got to work your way up. So I'm just excited for that. I'm excited for my next fight, just to basically just to everyone that that I will get to the top of the welterweight division, which is exciting for me. But I understand. Yeah, basically it's a slow process. Probably a few more fights, but we just wait.
Um, there's also the way of just like you see these guys like Oliveira, right? They had like 8 fights, or even El Kukui, Tony
Yeah,
Ferguson. They had 8 or 9 fights or whatever many, and and everyone respects them, but they don't got the hype behind them, right? I mean, now they do, but it took a long time. Where there's other guys, they're
yeah.
like like Sugar Shane, he's like 3 fights in, and he's just got, you know what I mean? He's the he's got all this
He's
attention,
the man. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or Patty. Did
Hey, Paddy the Baddy. Yeah.
Yeah, Patty the Batty. Is that, do you feel an urgent? I mean, you're so young. Do you feel an urgency to race to the top, or is it more like when I hear like Sugar Shane strategy is, which I think is kind of a brilliant strategy, just fight the just fight the guys you have to
Just
fight. Why
yeah,
fucking rocket
yeah.
to the top? Why not get 10 wins under your belt and let the train just fucking build?
Yeah,
What's the
it's
strategy? Or do you even
definitely.
give a fuck? Am I even asking you a question you even care about?
To be honest, I don't even give a fuck. I'm happy whatever they want me to do. I would be if they. I just want to keep putting on performances. I feel like when I get in there, I'm going to put on good performances, and they're going to give me better guys quickly. So if I can rocket to the top, I'm 100% willing and ready to do that.
God.
We'll see what happens if they. I really don't care. I'm
What
just happy to take one fight. Whoever they tell me to fight next, I will sign me up. Like I'm ready to go.
what is the killer instinct?
What is it?
What is it?
I don't
I don't
know.
know. Fuck if I know. The killer instinct for me is like after I get off the phone with you, going in my backyard and finding snails that are eating my plants and throwing them out into the street. That's about as badass as I get. But what is
I
the?
don't know.
Go ahead.
When I'm in there and I know that somebody else is, you're in there with a cage with another person that knows how to fight extremely well, and they're trying to basically beat you to almost to death or until the referee comes off. So that is enough motivation for me to try and beat them to death until the ref pulls up. So it's basically just I know what I'm in for. I know what my opponent wants to do to me, so I'm happy to oblige and do the same thing to them. Sounds brutal, but that's basically all. If there's a at any point in a fight where I feel like I can pull the trigger and beat the person enough that the ref pulls me off, then that is what I simply to save myself.
You know, Daniel Rodriguez said something interesting. I want to bring up something you just said there too. But do you know who Daniel Rodriguez is? He's in the
I think so.
171
Is it?
class. He's won 6 in a
Yeah, I do.
row.
Yeah, I do know. Yeah, I do know Dave. And not personally, but I have seen him fight.
He just beat up Kevin Lee pretty good.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I remember that. That was nice.
So he said something in an interview where basically like, yeah, I like the UFC. The fights are basically, I'm paraphrasing, the fights are safe. And the interviewer's like, what do you mean? He goes, well, I'm used to fighting in the street. I was used to fighting in the streets where like win or lose, even if you win a fight, you got to worry about someone like coming up behind you and stabbing you. I'm like, he goes, at least in the UFC when the fight's over, like the ref's there and
Damn.
there's people there to make sure like you get to go home.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's some that's some killer instinct shit. But the way you describe the killer, so these are the two data points now I have about the way you describe the killer instinct. You mentioned maybe in your second fight you didn't have it. So that
Yeah.
makes me think it's something that maybe has grown in you or matured. But this other thing, the way you described it this second time, is that it's dependent on what the other guy's trying to do to you. But for some reason, I don't
Yeah.
believe that. I'm believing that you can conjure it up regardless of what he's in there doing. I'm guessing you don't need. Do you need to see it in him before you activate on it?
Yeah, that's true, to be honest. I probably don't. If I could sense that my wanted like a way out of the fight, I would definitely probably still try and beat him to death. So
Right.
it makes sense, like I don't actually need that. It's just for me, it's just a way of getting in, getting out as safely as possible, and that normally means trying to get the finish.
Ah. Ah.
So yeah, you're right. Maybe it's not necessarily I don't need someone else to be trying to hurt me. It's just my way of getting in and getting out.
And is that something you've cultivated? Is that something that's grown? Do you nurture that the killer instinct? Like what
I'm not sure. I think from a young age, I've always had a bit of an aggressive streak inside me. When I played rugby, I didn't just want to win. I was always trying to tackle someone extremely hard and try and be a dominant player in the game and try and win with dominance. Maybe it's something that was just in me from a young age but I'm not sure. Not sure if it definitely must have grown through this sport. I think this sport definitely grows your killer instinct, but I think it was definitely a little flame in there from a young age.
do they all seem human to you? Like someone like Colby Covington who just like you see him just this like there's no stopping him. You see this beating that Kumaro puts on him and he's still like just like chattering away. I mean, do they just all seem human to you? Or some of them you're like,
Yeah,
what the fuck is going on there? Is he on horse tranquilizers?
I
Like
can
how the
get it.
fucking
I think they are all as much as you see them on TV and with like in the big fights, they are all just people, they feel pain just like the next person and they bleed just like the next person. I think that's why it's such a cool sport, and I feel like I'm just lucky because I know I'm a person, and I know Kamara Usman and Kobe Covington. I know they're just people, and so it's an even playing field, and we get to go at it, which I can't wait for.
I don't know, I'm most impressed outside of all of his antics and just whatever. I'm just most impressed of all the fighters in your division by Colby. And maybe it's the CrossFitter in me. I'm just impressed by his go.
Yeah, no, I'm a big,
Hi-
to be honest,
His
I'm a
go
big
is
Colby
nuts.
fan. He's an incredible fighter. His gas tank is beyond belief the way he just goes. Yeah, I'm a fan. His style of fighting is pretty impressive to watch.
And I don't think anyone's gifted a gas tank, do you? You have to earn that shit,
I
right?
don't. Yeah, I don't believe that at all. To be honest, yeah, I agree. I think you have to earn that shit. Some people will definitely say, "Oh, he's gifted this," but those people don't know what that person has done behind the scenes. You know.
What's the ultimate training partner? Do you have you ever met the perfect training partner?
To me, for me, my brother, 100%. Like my brother can go. We have done many rounds before of trying to punch each other hard, and we've never injured each other. Like we've never knocked each other out or hurt the other one. So I think somehow we just know how to give each other just the improve every single day. So and it's your brother, so he obviously wants to get the better of me. I want to get the better of him, but we as brothers we love each other and we don't want to hurt each other. So I think I'm blessed in that regard. I think I've got the best training partner in my brother, and then of course all the other. Josh is the perfect training partner for me.
How much does he weigh?
He has fought. He's very similar to me. Very similar. A little bit taller, a little bit leaner, more of like a lean frame, tall. But he has fought at 185 and has fought at 170. So yeah, similar, perfect size for me. A little bit taller, long, exceptional striker.
And and I guess the other God, I wish I could I can't even say the guy's name. The other wild card in your class, the real wild card, and there's one in the 55s too. The 175 71 guy who got COVID, and he goes back and forth between 171 and 185. I think
Who is that?
he's only been punched twice in 3 fights. He's the
Oh,
Russian guy.
the Russia. Oh, Kazmat.
Yes.
Kazmat Chimaev.
Yes. Wow. I'm impressed, Jack. Wow. Jack Della
Yeah,
Maddalena.
Kazmat. Smash man.
Yeah.
That guy. Yeah. No, he's cool. He's cool. He definitely hasn't been tested yet, but I reckon he seems like a strong, powerful, aggressive dude.
Yeah.
Maybe track one day.
And pretty impressive that he can go between those two weight classes, right?
Yeah, it's very impressive. And be dominant in both by the looks of it. So
Do you have it?
cool.
Or do you do jujitsu? Do you have a jujitsu dojo? Do you have a jujitsu like a belt? Like what belt are you in
Yeah,
jujitsu?
I'm a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. We have a yeah, my gym. We've got a pretty awesome Jiu Jitsu program. Pablo Torrealba is the head coach, and he's a awesome black belt.
And how long have you been doing that?
I've been doing it's pretty much the day I got into their scrappy MMA. So yeah, 15, 16, I got my first gi and have been yeah, pretty much consistent doing jiu-jitsu ever since.
And did you climb up the belts from white on up?
Yeah, wide on up.
And did you do jujitsu tournaments?
I've done a few. I have done a few. Had a yeah. Not a huge array of jiu-jitsu tournaments, but a few.
And why
And
not? It's just what is that not the pathway of MMA fighters to do jujitsu tournaments?
no, not at all. Not that I have anything against it. Just sometimes they fall in like times where I probably shouldn't be doing them, just in case I get injured, that sort of thing. But no, I think it's awesome to get that competition experience because like doing jujitsu in the gym and then doing anything in the gym and then doing it in that environment, it just adds that little bit extra to the art. So yeah, if I wasn't doing MMA, I'd definitely be doing as many jiu-jitsu tournaments as possible.
And do you ever wear your gi anymore, or is it all no gi?
Majority no gi, but I do still put on the gi occasionally.
Like how
I
often?
try to. I
One
try.
once a week
At
or
the
less?
moment, yeah. At the moment, it's probably once every month. But it may after. Normally, when I have a fight coming up, it's probably once a month, and then when I don't have a fight in the next 8 weeks, I'll probably get it on once a week.
I'm new to that
So
whole
quite
scene.
intense.
I'm new to that whole scene, and once again, it's just because I have 3 little boys and they do jujitsu, and we've gone to a couple tournaments.
Nice.
But more and more, it's weird. It's weird to me. The gi stuff is weird to me, and competition jujitsu is weird to me. So like, just because I'm starting to be suspicious. Suspicious is a little too strong, but I'm starting to become aware of it translating to being useful in real
Yeah.
life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So like you know like you see someone winning 6-0 and there's 5 seconds left and they've been dominating the whole time, but then all of a sudden someone gets on top of them in a couple times and they
Good
got 8
point.
points in the last 10 seconds and they win. And I'm like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? And I'm
Right.
learning the rules and I'm like,
Plateauing. Yeah.
and they're like, oh, that's what sports jiu-jitsu is. It's just really just
Yeah.
all points. So I'm just learning. So that's why I was just curious. From the little bit I would guess that once you're an MMA fighter or a professional fighter, you start wearing the gi less and less.
Yeah. Definitely. And as you say that, the only competitions I've done in jiu-jitsu weren't those sort of they were submission only.
Ah,
I've never actually had a jiu-jitsu match. Most of the ones that I've ever done and around Perth are like submission only. So it makes a bit more sense. If there's no submission, there's no winner, and you just try and get the submission.
damn, that sounds like some big boy shit.
Nah, it makes more sense. Like the whole, I'm not very good with the understanding of the scoring of jiu-jitsu, but I understand how to get submissions and try not to get submitted. So it makes a bit more sense.
When did you get a manager?
After my, I got a manager after just before my last, not this fight that I've just had, before the fight prior to that one, I had a manager.
And who's
Tim,
that?
he's from Perth. His name's Tim Simpson. He's from Perth. He's at Paradigm Sports.
And he just calls you one day and he's like, "Hey, dude, you need a manager. You're really good."
No, not necessarily. It was actually I had like a management company reach out, sent me just so I've never really spoken to him. He sort of just reached out, sent me a contract saying if you want to join the management, and I was sort of like, whoa, like I'm interesting. Looked at it, and then Tim Simpson, he's based in LA, but he's actually from Perth. So he's from Perth. Had a couple of mutual connections, and he is in the MMA game in LA, and basically having mutual connections with him. He was the only person I knew in that space, so I just sort of got in touch with him, sent him the contract, said, "What did you think?" And from that point, we built a relationship and scrapped the other contract, and we just kept talking, and then eventually made sense to get on board and him to help us out. And it's been a good move that I've made, I believe.
Yeah, that would be scary to sign a contract. And if I was your coach Benjamin, I would be so fucking protective too. It would be like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
dynamics between fighters and management and coaches always is like it impresses me that how well it works. I guess I don't see if it's not working, but it's a balancing act, right? Because
it
you're
is.
you're
Yeah,
the race car, Benjamin's the mechanic, and this other dude wants to tell you which races to get in, and it's like,
yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah, no one steps on anyone's toes. We're a good, solid team. We're similar. We're all from Perth. So I think it's been perfect at this stage where everyone gets along and we've got the same envisions. So yeah, we just got to just keep doing our part, and hopefully we can get to where we need to get to.
let's say next year you were gonna fight. Am I keeping you too long?
Not at all. No, I've got
Oh,
Sevan.
6 more days.
I've got nothing but time.
Okay, if you need a pee break, tell me. I'm interviewing Devonte Smith in 10 hours,
Yeah, you
7 a.m.
kick
my
me
time.
off whenever. Oh yeah,
Okay.
nice.
Um,
That might do us then.
When do you can take a pee break too. If when do
Sweet.
you so when do you let's say you get 3 fights next year, and let's say
Yeah.
this fucking I don't even want to call Australia a country. So disappointed. I'm so disappointed with so many countries, including my own. But
It's sad. Yeah, I
oh,
am as
it's
well.
brutal. I just saw an amazing thing that the leader of Croatia posted today.
What
He
was
goes,
it?
he's the president of Croatia. He said, "Hey, I watch CNN every morning. That's our news station here." He goes, "Either they're crazy or I'm crazy, but I'm gonna go with they're crazy, and I'm opening this country up. There's no stopping this fucking thing."
It's
And I
good.
was like,
Yeah,
"Thank God, a fucking
it's
leader with
incredible.
balls."
Yeah. Well, we just got off the phone yesterday, and Ben had a chat with a lady, basically just trying to see. We're in Sydney now. We leave quarantine in 7 days. We're just trying to figure out how do we get home to Perth, and she basically said Perth isn't letting anyone in at this stage, so you'll have to find some. You have to find accommodation in Sydney for the foreseeable future. And at that point, we said, like we've got family. Ben has kids in Perth. We're Australian citizens. We're in Australia. We would like to go home. But it all got sorted out in the end. But to even think that that is a possibility is beyond my wildest beliefs.
Someone's gonna get hurt. Someone's gonna keep
Yeah,
someone
it's
from their kids, and someone's gonna get hurt. I'm not talking
yeah,
about Australia. I'm just talking in the world. Like
in
some
general,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. You're gonna put pressure on someone with kids, and
Put the
okay.
pressure on
So
the wrong person, and yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not gonna
yeah.
end
They're gonna
well.
do something so bad when
Yeah,
yeah. So when let's say 2022 rolls around, and let's say you get a fight early in January, and let's say for some reason you get 3 fights. Is
yep.
that be something you're up to?
3 fights in next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be all. I would love to get 3 fights. Actually, would be perfect for me. Be
Okay, and then
absolutely perfect.
so then do you if this shit show in Australia, which they're saying is going to be over December 11th, but it's not. You can't believe anything your politicians are telling you. Um and here's another thing. I spoke to another Australian 2 days ago, Kate Gordon. She's in the CrossFit space. She basically
Yeah,
told me, she said, and this is a very good point. She said that, hey, when so in the United States, this shit's running rampant, right? Everyone has it. Like I had it last week, my
yeah,
wife had it, my kids had it, everyone's getting it. It's just fucking everywhere, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm not vaccinated, and I just don't eat. I just take care of myself. I just do CrossFit, and I don't eat
yeah,
cake and
yeah.
ice cream, right?
Yeah,
So when they open Australia, this shit, because you guys have done a great job of keeping it out of there, it's gonna run fucking rampant. And what happened is
yeah.
they've put so much hype behind it, it's gonna scare people. But so I digress. But what at what point are you like, okay, I have 3 fights in the US. Fuck this shit. I'm not coming back and forth. I'm grabbing my girl and I'm fucking moving to fucking Tim Simpson's house in LA, or I'm moving to Florida, or like when fuck LA. Don't go there, by the way. I'm in California. Stay out of
Yeah,
California. Um,
yeah, right.
like there's got to be a point where you're like, hey, I'm not going to do quarantine three
It's
times next year.
it's
No
a
way.
it's absolutely nuts. I haven't. I've tried not to think about that sort of thing too much, but it's crazy.
You
Which
must. You
seems silly.
must.
I know.
No,
I
it's
actually
okay.
start thinking about it, but I love Perth. I love Australia. I don't want to leave,
Right.
and I'm hoping that so the people. Hopefully, we can just everyone can pull their heads in and just. I don't even know what the answer is, but I would just love to be able to travel, fight, and then come back to my home, and hopefully that is a possibility next year if these people in charge get their shit together. And I'm not understand it's not necessarily their fault, but
Oh, it's their fault.
yeah, I can't. Yeah, exactly. I can't expect you can't expect an Australian to be if they're going out and coming back just sitting in a hotel room the whole time. So who knows what's going to happen? But yeah, I just want to get 3 fights in, and if that means sitting in a hotel for 6 weeks next year, so I can get my goal, it's something that I'm gonna have to just take on the chin. But yeah, I don't see myself moving anywhere. unless of course it gets any worse here, then might have to start looking. But the plan for me is definitely to stay in Australia, fight out of Australia, and fight a lot. So see
Someone
what
needs to
happens.
someone needs to stand up and be like, hey, um, this thing almost exclusively only kills obese people, and it's time to buy an Echo bike and stop drinking
Yeah,
Coca-Cola. Someone just needs to say
yeah.
it. Like someone like
So
like some leader besides the leader of
yeah,
Croatia, like one of these other
yeah.
leaders. Sorry,
That fit, yeah,
I don't mean to make
being
fun of
fit,
Croatia. What?
being fit and healthy is probably the safest and most effective way out of this thing. So
It's not
why aren't we talking
extreme.
about it? It's not extreme
Exercising
at
is
all.
not extreme.
We've got there's obviously mental health issues going around, and also it's a pill that's going to help that as well. Exercise will help that problem. It will help the flu problem. It will help the COVID problem, the obese problem. I think that is the way out of this, but no one seems to be saying it.
How often do you actually just take a whole day off? Can you remember the last time you didn't sweat during the for like you went a day without sweating?
No, I love sweating. I'm a sweaty man, and I'm a happy sweater. So
Yeah,
I sweat. I like to sweat every single day.
me too.
And
And
if I'm not sweating from exercise, I definitely try and get into the sauna and sweat the lazy way. So I love sweating.
yeah, it's nuts. I don't know how people don't exercise every single day. I seriously would feel unfulfilled. Like if it's like 11 o'clock at night and I've been busy all day, I still will go out in the garage and make sure I sweat. Just do
Yeah, yeah, and
something.
I have yeah, 100. It's for me. It's definitely, and obviously for you, basically it's medicine. It's the
Mental health,
purest
yes.
medicine. Yeah, it's the purest medicine you can have is movement, exercise, that whole thing. So to me, it's absolutely insane that that isn't spoken about more during this time.
It's like an oil change, right? Like you're like, hey, I get to drink a gallon of water now because obviously there's a
Yeah,
gallon on the floor.
yeah. If you exercise, I feel like it makes food taste better. As it makes a beer go down nicer after exercise. It makes everything better. So why not more people are interested in it is it's unbelievable.
Do you and Ben play any games in the hotel room? I mean, besides like snapping towels at
Games.
each other when you guys are naked, like do you do any other games like
No,
chess or?
we have it. Oh, we've ordered a chessboard. The chessboard should be arriving soon. I wish we ordered it earlier. But the only other game we've got is we've got a Nintendo Switch and we play golf.
Oh, you hook it up to the TV
Yeah, we've got the to be honest, we've got the cheap version. It's just like a little one that sits in your hand.
and you just
But
take turns.
it's still fun. You just take turns. But definitely, if this is going to be the new norm, living in having little trips in hotels, I think we're going to have to buy a Switch, the proper one.
Are there two beds in that room?
Two beds, yeah, two very comfy beds, to be honest. So happy with that.
And you have to pay for that stay in there?
We do you do have to pay for it, but we are lucky. The beautiful company, the UFC, is covering it.
Oh shit. Wow.
Incredible team. So, yeah, I'm a proud employee.
How did you get the blue check mark?
That is Tim is a bit of a wizard. Or he has someone in Paradigm Sports is a wizard, and Tim said you should get a blue check mark, and within 5 minutes, I had a blue tick mark. So wizards behind the scenes.
Do a lot of people know what's going on with Jack? Are a lot of people um like freaking out like even more so
No,
than me?
no.
Like no? Like Tim's not freaking out
I've
like,
had
"Oh
a
shit."
I've had no I've had a lot of people reach out and just say they're happy with me and they're proud of me being Australian. People around the world, but no, nothing. Not it's much the same over here. People just a lot of people obviously appreciate some martial arts, and that's what I gave them. So I think there some people are happy with that.
Fuck, dude. It's a crazy it's a crazy story and um you said it's just the beginning, but I mean, I know you're being pretty humble saying that. I mean, it's nuts. It is really nuts.
Thank
Do
you.
have you made any other predictions about what's going to happen in your next 10 fights?
No, we haven't yet. We obviously made that solid goal after my second loss. We said I was 0-2, and Ben wasn't actually there at the time. He had basically couldn't make it to where the fight was, but he called me after and he said, like, don't hang your head, just stay at this. We will get 10-2. Our next goal will get 10 wins. And he sort of just told me then and there we're going to get 10-2. We stuck at it. We got 10-2 now, so I guess it's
How did
time to
he
get
know?
that
Was he
next
drunk when
goal.
he called you? Was Ben drunk when he said that?
I don't know. He could have been a little drunk at the time, but he must have foreseen something. And nah, he's a sober man these days. He definitely wasn't drunk, but he obviously he envisioned something, and he knew that I had more to give, and so we both agreed that we're going to get to that 10 wins, 2 losses.
Who
Seems like it's a crazy beat 10 my other people that train martial arts, but we just stuck at it, and I envisioned it the whole time. So we got to make a new one.
How about your third fight? How did your third fight go? Your first
My
win.
third fight, I was fired up, and I got in there, and I got a first round knockout of the elbow. It's quite a wild elbow. Just like an up elbow. I just threw it like that, and bang, it landed. But yeah, I was very amped up for that fight, and a loss there would have really hit me hard. So that wasn't that.
Is that so? There's this move that you did. So I watch a lot of UFC. I think I watch a lot of UFC. I think I watch more than most people, but there's probably people who watch a lot more than me. There, in one of
Yeah,
your fights, you just reminded me of that spinning elbow. Is that the one where you caught his leg? I had never
that's the
seen
one.
that. Holy shit!
Caught, caught the
So
leg.
had
Yeah.
you ever seen anyone do that before?
Not necessarily. I've seen that as a move that has been done before. Anderson Silva landed that nice elbow on Tony Frickland in Cage Rage back in the day, and then also Dan Henderson landed a elbow on Hector Lombard. But it's a pretty dangerous shot. Like, you can get a lot of power like throwing your elbow up like that. So it was something that I definitely practiced. I had it in the arsenal, and I felt at the time it was the perfect time to unleash it.
So for people who are listening who don't know, and I'm probably gonna fuck this up, but Jack will unfuck it if I fuck it up.
Yeah.
Another guy basically kicked him, and usually when you see that in MMA, when someone kicks someone and you catch their leg, you either run towards them and try to lift their leg up and flip them down, or you try to sweep their leg, or you try punching them just straight across like with a 1-2, just basically just a jab. Instead, Jack starts spinning and drills the guy,
I think I
right?
think what I did is I caught his leg, and I went to actually throw the punch, and it sort of glanced and missed him. So my hand went past his face, and then all I did was basically just come back punch, but just with the elbow.
Okay, so some WWE shit.
It was some WWE stuff.
Wow, it's funny. I saw actually I saw my kids fighting the other day. I'm like, "Hey, don't backhand each other." And he's like, and my son's like, "You," and my son actually said, "You have to if you miss with the first one." I'm like,
If
"Oh
it,
god."
it makes
Yeah,
sense. They're onto something.
yeah, I got that in my notes. Leg catch to spinning back. So it wasn't just necessarily spinning back elbow. I saw it wrong. That was just me
No,
getting
it
excited.
wasn't. No, it wasn't necessarily a spin. It was more throwing the punch. The punch went across like that, and then the elbow came straight back in the same from the same position.
And that was your third fight.
Third fight. That was my first professional win, which was nice to get that one.
Yeah, shit,
Get that goal just kicked off. Yeah.
that was crazy. I also noticed there's something else you do in your fights. You do this thing where when you breathe, you're going like that. You open your mouth big. Have you noticed that?
Uh,
You
a
look
little bit.
like a fish out of water. Like you do this. That's not conscious. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
But no, not really. I just know it's obviously very important to stay on top of your breathing and not forget to breathe. So maybe it's something I make sure I'm always breathing. I think breathing is something that probably the most important thing for like beginners is just to stay in control of your breathing.
Does Ben snore?
Ben does not snore.
Do you
Ben
snore?
doesn't actually. Ben, do I snore? Nah, no, we've been lucky. He said the state of my nose, I should snore, but I don't. And Ben doesn't snore, so we've actually been having some really good sleeps. The room in here, the beds are comfy, and the windows completely black out,
Oh, that's
so
cool.
it's cool. Yeah,
Do you know any of the other guys, big names in the scene there? Have you met Robert?
Robert. No, I have never met Robert. I've met Alex Volkanovski.
Okay.
I've met Alex. He's a nice guy, and then I've met yeah, no, that's pretty much. I haven't met too many. I don't hang around with too many big name fighters. Just sort of met them through being involved in the sport.
Where did you meet Alex at?
He commentated a fight of mine, one of
Like
my
a
fights.
like one of your pro fights.
Yeah, yeah.
And
He was
was
the
he the champ
commentator.
when he did that?
Um, I think he was either. It was about 3 weeks before he fought Max. I don't know if it was the first or the second fight. So I'm not actually sure. I think he may have been the champion at that point. It may have been just before his second.
You think he's gonna beat Ortega?
Yeah, I think he's going to beat Ortega. I'm definitely on board with the Volkanovski train and hope he
Uh,
represents Australia proud, as I'm sure he will.
yeah, and Max beat up Ortega pretty good, as I recall.
Yeah, yeah, he did. He put a bad beating on him.
Max and Alex are both pretty crazy. That division's crazy.
That is a those two. I definitely think Volkanovski won both those fights. They're very tight, but yeah, that is as close as competition as I think you'll get. I think if they have a third fight down the track, it'll be close again. I think they are pretty much on the same level.
And did you see Max fight Calvin?
Yeah,
Cater?
that was impressive. That was very
Holy
impressive.
shit.
Some very good boxing skills.
Let me ask your take on the Sugar Shane fight with the kid from Boston, where basically, I think that's the
Oh, the
135
new guy.
class.
The
Yeah,
new guy.
that
Yeah,
kid
that
took
was
the fight on like 2 or 3 weeks' notice, and then he got in there and basically just had his face punched in for 3 rounds
yeah,
straight.
pretty insane. That was a pretty insane. How he stayed up that whole fight was pretty impressive.
And it looked like Shane was even telling the ref, like, hey, you got to stop this.
Yeah,
Like somewhere in the third
yeah.
round.
It seemed like they could have stopped it at any point. But then to stop it at that just before the end was a bit sad. I thought like they'd let him take the beating and then not let him get to the decision. It was pretty tough to watch, but I mean it's safety first at the end of the day. But I feel like they could have stopped that a lot earlier. But
In the
yeah, Sugar Sean is a pretty impressive fighter.
Oh,
He's
Sugar Sean. I called him Sugar Shane.
Sugar
Shit.
Sean, Sugar
Got my
Shane, Sugar Sean.
Yeah.
He's a legend.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's gonna be fun watching him climb up the ranks. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, super interesting.
Mo's not convinced he's the real deal.
Really?
Yeah, that's what he
Yeah,
said.
he's definitely taken it. Yeah, as you said, like taking the smart way, just getting the fights in, and I reckon he's a pretty impressive fighter.
I think he's
He's
impressive
definitely.
too.
Mm,
But the
I
best
reckon
guy
he's
he's
very
fought, he
impressive.
lost to.
Yeah, definitely,
So that's
definitely.
I mean,
Yeah,
I know it was a foot injury, but he still lost to him. Who that was like
still, yeah, it's a
Marlon
definite
or
loss. Yeah,
who was
yeah,
that?
Marlon
Yeah.
Vera. Yeah,
Yeah, Cheetah Vera.
Vera.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I reckon he claims he didn't lose that, but that was a clear loss in my mind.
Yeah. So I mean, he seems to be
He's still
great.
a vet. Super exciting though. His style is just fan friendly to the max. A beautiful technician.
Speaking of fan friendly, Dana had very nice words to say about you. Did you go back and listen to that? I assume you did.
Yeah, we did have a listen, which was cool. Real cool.
Yeah, and do you actually, when you're there at the Contender Series, do you actually get to talk to him or shake his hand, or is there any interaction?
Well, there a little bit. I saw him. We had our rugby ball. We were just playing our rugby ball in the back, and he was so happened to be walking through the hallway, and we had a little chat. I popped him the rugby ball. I think he didn't like the rugby ball that much, but
He-
he was happy to. I think he was stoked with the performance, and which was cool. And he gave us a bottle of whiskey, one of his bottles of Howl Ahead. Not bad, made from bananas. I enjoyed some of that the other.
Hey, so does everyone get a bottle of that?
I don't know. I've just said he gave me a bottle, but he probably gave all the winners a bottle.
No, let's just say he gave you one. Let's say he just
Yeah,
gave
it
you one.
sounds better. And to be honest, he didn't actually give it to me.
You
One
took
of
it out
his
of his
crew
back
gave it to
pocket.
me. Yeah. So the story is it gets watered down a bit, but I left Las Vegas with a bottle of Dana White's whiskey, and that's all that matters.
Yes, that is all that matters. Jack, 10-2. I really appreciate the 93 minutes you've given me. Actually, 96. This is
Nah,
probably
pleasure.
this is the
Yeah,
only show I
wow.
started 3 minutes early.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah, nice.
I got you in my Google alerts. The second they announce who you're fighting, I'm gonna start bugging you again.
You're
Um,
the man.
Normally, Josh does these with me. These shows with me
Josh
when
Bridges.
when I interview the fighters, he'll jump on
He's
with
the
me.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see his fight a couple days ago?
No.
So
He's
so
a
he
wrestler, isn't he?
he had his first amateur boxing match in Dubai.
What a
Yeah. So he comes on
I
these
completely missed that.
yeah,
I would
it's
have loved
just
to have.
it's
It
small
sucks.
time. You're big time. It's small time. You're big time.
No, I would have. If I had have known, I would have 100% watched that.
So he had his first fight. He fought a guy who was 20 pounds bigger than him and 3 inches taller. It was just an amateur fight. It was Jacob Hepner. Do you know who that is? He's a CrossFitter also.
Yep, I do. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And they did. I think they did. In my opinion, they did boxing. They did it. It looked like boxing. It didn't look like two girls like flailing at each other. They both trained
No.
really, really hard. Jacob had a good jab going. Josh's footwork looked fucking great. His head movement
Sick.
looked great. They fought on that.
Legend.
Do you know who Thor is? The guy from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, he thought the big guy.
Yeah, so he fought, and he was the main event, and Josh and Jacob were the co-main event.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's really cool. I'm gonna
yeah,
come.
a little $10 pay-per-view. I think it's probably free now. You could probably
Yeah,
just watch it on YouTube.
sweet.
So the
Oh, that's cool.
next time we get together, hopefully Josh will be on here. But he just got back from Dubai yesterday, and I said, "Hey, dude, you got to meet this guy, Jack." He's like, "Dude, I need rest."
He did. Yeah, rest the poor fella.
No, fuck him. He should have been on
That's
here meeting
fine.
Jack.
Oh yeah, next time. No, it's been a pleasure to meet you though, Sevan. You're the man.
Thank you. Bam. And we're no longer live.